following is a special presentation of Retro Sports. Not special presentation, it's a presentation of Retro Sports Network. Home of the champions of the past, present, and or future. Why, hi there, I'm Ron Chuckett. It's lunchtime again, and so it's time for our Major League Baseball game of Thursday game. From Saturday, July 3rd, 1982, the Chicago White Sox and the Seattle Mariners from Comiskey Park. Now, Seattle is having its first ever successful season. They are 3 games above 500 as we go into this at 40-37. They are 7.5 games, or 7 or 7.5 games behind the California Angels. I don't think they're seriously going to threaten for the division title, but hopes are looking up for the Mariners after some bad years in their 6th season. They hopefully will finish above 500. In fact, I think they did finish above 500 for the real year in 1982. The White Sox are hanging in there just like they did in real life in 1982. They currently have a couple game bulge over the Kansas City Royals and are within striking distance of the California Angels in the American League West. You know how good this team potentially can be. They won the division in 1983, so they're looking for any advantage they can get. And I believe this was probably the first time that Seattle was actually featured on national television. This being July 3rd would have come after NBC's Breakfast at Wimbledon, the Ladies Championship, of course, being on the Saturday. And so this was, baseball was not on the network's priority. And so that's why you got Chicago and Seattle. But the White Sox never minded being on TV, and I'm sure Seattle was thrilled to have the exposure. So it's the White Sox and Mariners. As Retro Sports Network presents Major League Baseball 1982 lunchtime replay from Comiskey Park, it is the Chicago White Sox with Dennis Lamp against Mike Moore and the Seattle Mariners. On a beautiful afternoon here in Chicago, 76 degrees, winds left to right at 10 miles an hour. And as we say hello to the chat, Robbie Wartburg joining us. Sports Time Machine will be on tonight at 8 o'clock. Al, Red Sox fan. Dave Gardner, who's impatient already. All glad to have you along. These are the standings as we start Saturday the 3rd of July. As you can see, Seattle has won their last 3 straight. These 2 teams were rained out last night. That's why we didn't go through the Friday game. At 40-37, the White Sox are 5-5 in their last 10. 3.5 behind those Angels who lost on Friday night. I mean, it's still a race, but with not many races in the majors right now. Detroit and Baltimore in the East, with Milwaukee kind of knocking on the door. And California, even though their bullpen is suspect, they can do the things they need to do. They're going to win the West. So Dennis Lamp is making start number 14 on the year. He is 2-4 with a 5.24 ERA, just what the Mariners want to see. His last start was against the Minnesota Twins on the 28th. He went 6 innings, allowed 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned. He walked 2 and struck out 3. So on the year, he also took no decisions. On the year, 80 2/3 innings, 95 hits, 3 home runs in total, 53 runs overall, 47 earned. He has walked 35 and struck out 30. So the Mariners are in decent shape as far as we're concerned. And this will be the lineup that Dennis Lamp faces. Julio Cruz will lead off and play second base. I think it's Carmen Castillo at third will bat second. Bruce Bochy, the left fielder, goes third. Al Cowens, the right fielder, cleans up. Richie Zisk will be the DH and bat fifth. Ray, the first baseman, will bat sixth. Sweet, the catcher, you can tell I'm real familiar with this team, will go seventh. Dave Henderson, the center fielder, will bat eighth. And Ramos, the shortstop, will bat ninth. Defensively for the White Sox, no more Jim Morrison jokes because he's with Pittsburgh now. Steve Kemp is in left field. He's a 6 and a 2. Rudy Law in center. He's a 6 and a 3, and the Hall of Famer Harold Baines is 7 and 8 in the right. Believe it or not, Baines is the best defender. Vance Law is at third, he's a 3. Billy Allman is a 7 at short. Tony Bernazard, who loves these streams, is a 6 at second. Wimpy Pachork is a 5 at first, and Carlton Fisk decides he wants to play on a Saturday, 8 and a 6. Remember, the White Sox and Mariners were rained out last night. Infield playing for a buck, Julio Cruz at 223, 6 homers and 24 RBI. And on a beautiful July day, it's a ground ball to Law over to Pachork, and that's how this one starts 1 out. So it wasn't a bunt, but Law was right there. Now bring up Manny Castillo. Love the Menudo mustache. At 236, no homers and 20 RBI. Tribe fan, how are you? So Lamp had 3 pitches to start the game. Pitch to Castillo was a ground ball up the middle. Bernazard by the bag at second over to Pachork for the 2nd out. So 2 quick outs. For Seattle, like I said, this is the year that they reached respectability in 1982. It would take a while before they would become a contender, but at least they were respectable. And the other big thing is that Gaylord Perry is on this team, and he got his 300th win sometime in the month of May. Here's Bochy, 301, 7 homers and 29 RBI. 2 out, pitch from Lamp is a high fly ball to right center. Rudy Law is there, and that will retire the side. No runs, no hits, no errors. Seattle nothing. Here come the White Sox. And Mike Moore, who is making start number 12 of the year, is 3 and 6 on the 82, replaying with a 5.49 ERA. In 60 2/3 innings, he's allowed 64 hits, 5 homers, walked 36, and struck out 31. His last start was against the Blue Jays on the 21st, so he's had some rest, about 10 days or so. 6 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 earned. He took the loss, by the way. Walked 3 and struck out 4. So 5 homers out and 43 runs overall. 37 of those runs were earned. That's George Gray at first. I recognize the G. Defensively for the Mariners, Bochy is a 3 and 3 in left. Henderson is a 5 in center. Al Cowens is 7 and 9 in right. So Cowens is the best defender. Can't tell you what the Seattle third Castillo is at the moment, but Ramos is a 2 at short and Cruz is 6 at second. Gary Gray is a 4 at first, and Sweet is a 7 and 6 behind the plate. Here's the White Sox lineup for you. It is Rudy Law leading off. Tony Bernazard in his accustomed 2 spot. Steve Kemp, the left fielder, will bat 3rd. Greg Luzinski, the DH, he will clean up. Tom Pachork will bat 5th. Harold Baines 6th. Carlton Fisk will go 7th. Vance Law will bat 8th and 3rd, and Billy Allman, the shortstop, 9th. And Dennis Lamp threw 9 pitches in the 1st. We aren't gonna bunt. And so the pitch to Moore is from Moore, goes all the way to the wall in center. Law kind of shot that like a 5-iron, and it got down on that grass, and he's in there with a double. The throw was late, and look at this. He's got a 79% chance of stealing 3rd. Castillo, by the way, is a 4 at 3rd. And so Law is going to see if he can catch Moore napping. Bernazard at 246, 6 homers and 33 RBI when the time comes. But here goes Law. Sweet throw down to Castillo is not in time, and Rudy has his 3rd steal of the year. So when you have a 79% chance of stealing a base and you're standing on second, you got a pitcher basically taking a nap. No one count to Bernazard. Runner on 3rd, and Tony hits this one into center. Henderson's there to make the catch. Law will tag and score, and the White Sox go up 1-0. They'll bring up Steve Kemp at 263, 10 homers and 40 RBI. Bobby Catalano, how are you? Baseball demos. Good afternoon. They fought the law and the law won. That's right. Now here's Kemp. I told you his numbers already. 1 out. Pitch for Moore. And there's a base hit into right center field. And so Kemp is on first. 1 out for the Bull. Greg Luzinski at 283. 7 homers and 40 RBI. A 79% chance of stealing third was a squash match stealing third. Yep, pretty much so. How you doing, Bobby? Pitch to Luzinski is a fly ball to right center. Henderson is there. Kemp goes back to the bag. And there are 2 out. For Tom Paciorek, Wimpy at 336. 12 homers and 44 RBI. Moore delivers, and Paciorek hits this one in the center. Henderson, of course, is there, and that will retire the side, not before the White Sox get a run on 2 hits and no errors. After 1 at Comiskey, Chicago 1, Seattle nothing. And so it'll be Al Cowens, Richie Zisk, and I believe it's Gary Gray. Cowens at 301, 9 homers and 39 RBI. Winds are whipping from left to right at 10. A warm day, a nice day though. 76 on the south side on this July 3rd. Not sure when Chicago does their fireworks, if they do them the 3rd or the 4th. But about 25,000 here, and they'll be going to do some holiday celebrating either tonight, well, probably tonight and tomorrow. Pitch to Cowens is a line drive that gets past Bernazard. Allman Dope should have had it. And Cowens is on with a single. First hit for the Mariners. And that'll bring up Richie Zisk at 276, 8 homers, and 28 RBI. Throw to first, Cowens is back and kind of laughing at Lamp for throwing over. But this time he goes home, and Zisk puts this one into left center field for a base hit. Cowens will hold at second, and the Mariners have 2 on and nobody out for Gary Gray. At 270, 3 homers and 16 RBI. Every time I hear the name Al Cowens, I think of O.J. Simpson and a white Bronco. That's close. It was Cowens, I believe. Yeah, different folks. It's not the same. So Cowens is not that, and he probably would present that, but that's just the way that things go. Gray, I told you his numbers. Here's the pitch. Here's a ground ball to Allman. They should get 2. DeBernazard at second for 1, but no throw. Gray was too fast. And so it's runners in the corners and 1 out. I'm sure that's probably not the first time that anyone has gone to Al Cowens and said, "Don't you feel bad about being in the driving that Bronco?" Wasn't me, man. Wasn't me. Here's Rick Sweet. Where's Rob? I think that looked creepier than Joe Nolan did last night. Rick is at 140. A homer and 5 RBI. Runners on first and third for Seattle. Top of the second. 1-0 White Sox. Here's the pitch to Sweet. And that's DeBernazard. Comes in on the grass. They're going to try for 2. He flips to Allman for 1. And I don't believe they're going to throw to first. No throw to first as Gray did the roadblock onto Allman. Cowens will score. There's 2 out. And we're tied at 1. So good play by Seattle. And that'll bring up Dave Henderson at 256. 4 homers and 17 RBI. It's a great moment for the Red Sox, still years away. Pitch to him, struck him out. A 1-2 pitch on the outside corner for strike 3, and that'll do it for the M's here in the second. A run on 2 hits and no errors, and inning and a half in the books. Seattle 1, Chicago 1. Too sweet. Hey, it's the sweet by and by. Not necessarily This is probably going to be a high-scoring game anyway. The day of the OJ chase was also Arnold Palmer's last round at the U.S. Open in Oakmont. And, of course, the NBA Finals. There was a third event, I think, that day, too. It was a huge day in sports. Here's Harold Baines. The night before, I think, was Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks. Baines at 244, 11 homers, and 44 RBI. Moore starts the second with a ground ball right back to him. Over to Gray, 1 out. And that'll bring up the best baseball player ever to be born in the state of Vermont, Carlton Fisk. He will tell you that he's not from Vermont, he's from Walpole, New Hampshire. Damn it. But he was born in Bellows Falls. And in any event, he's at 282, 5 homers, and 30 RBI. Pitch from Moore, and Fisk slaps that one in the right side for a base hit. Julio Cruz should have stopped it, he did not. And that's the third hit for the Chi Sox. And that'll bring up Vance Law at 322 and 9 RBI. So, yeah, this one's not going to be a pitcher's duel for sure. Pitch from Moore, and Law strikes out. And this time the Law was stopped. An 0-2 pitch, check swing, and it was in there. 91-mile-an-hour fastball, and there's 2 out for Billy Ullman. At 243, a homer and 24 RBI. Yep, the ESPN did do a 30 for 30 on that. Pitch to Allman, ball 4.
Take your base.
And so Moore allows the walk, a 3-1 pitch and tied. And that'll bring up Rudy Law. So through 9 batters, Mike Moore has thrown an inning and 2/3, 3 hits, a walk and a strikeout on 30 pitches. Rudy Law doubled, stole third. Wow. Has 36 steals on the real year. He only has 3 so far. And scored the run for Chicago. 2 out, pitch for Moore. And there's a high fly ball to center. Henderson has it in his tracks, and that retires the side. No runs, 1 hit. How you doing, Bubba Husky? And no errors after 2. Seattle 1, Chicago 1. Domingo Ramos. Not even a household name in his own house will bat for Seattle. He's a number 9 hitter. 286 on the year with an RBI. Only had 26 at-bats in 1982 in real life and hit 154. Pitch from Lamp, and there's a ground ball to Vance Law over to the short for the out. That'll bring up Julio Cruz, so Lamp threw his first 9 on 30 pitches. 2 1/3 innings, 2 hits and a strikeout. The run in the second was earned, and Cruz is 0 for 1. Rob, the offensive star of the ID Jesters. Game 3, I believe, is tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern. We are up 2-0 in that series, by the way, thanks to the great hitting prowess of the ID Jesters. We got to Stratomatic, Delaware, and I'll have to speak to Al about wanting to channel his inner Bob Stanley. My liver just can't take another one of those, buddy. White Sox come in to play the bunt with 1 out. And Lamp delivers, and there's a ground ball to Bernazard over to Pachort, back by the bag for the out. Yep, Bubba with a big home run. There's Manny Castillo, he's 0 for 1. 2 out, nobody on. Top the third. And Castillo slaps that one to Bernazard over to Pachoric, and that will retire the side. So the Mariners go down in order. No runs, no hits, no errors. 2.5 in the books. It's still Seattle 1, Chicago 1. Pirate Gray. First time poster. Tremendous channel. Your game call delivery is just outstanding. Look at matchup with Vince Scully and Al Michaels. Yeah, I'm not easily like Michaels, that's for sure, when he called baseball. And you could tell. Thanks, buddy. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you here. How you doing, Seth? You can tell that Michaels grew up in Brooklyn because he really does a lot of Scully. I mean, we all kind of do Scully to a degree. Even Giants fans do Scully. Tony Bernazard sack fly in the first. Drove in run number 34 for him. I'm doing well, Seth. Pitch from Moore, and there's a ground ball right back to him. Over to Gray, 1 out. No. The vet was fine. We took both games. What are you talking about? The Astrodome, actually, in the chat, would be perfect for the dead ballers, except for the turf. I mean, that thing is just as boring as well. But what? The old White Sox unis and logos are great. Yeah, this actually came with the game. It's not one I made. And someone, I think, estimated that picture to be 60. It's in the 60s. I don't have the mouse pointer on, but the Coke logo on the left in the scoreboard is before the stripe, so you know it's before 70. So I want to say 64, 65 is a great shot. Yeah, I did see that. Yep, I did see that, Seth. They knew that was going to happen. And I vote for Shibe Park, too, because that was an old dead ball park. And it keeps us in Philly. I love my cheesesteak. Steve Kemp, by the way, singled his first time up. He's 1 for 1. Pitch from Moore, and there's a base hit in the left center field. Henderson picks it up on a hop. And Kemp is going to not run on the good-armed Henderson. Henderson's arm is an 8, and Kemp will hold right there with the single. Had a good chance, but don't run yourself out on the bases if you don't need to. Here's Greg Luzinski. He's 0 for 1. Oh, I'll have to check it out, Bubba. Do I need a 1982? Nope. I'm perfectly happy with this. The only thing different is that the scoreboard had the big Winston ad on it. I like this scoreboard first. I like this picture. I think it's a great shot. But thank you, though. But they had the rear admiral with us. 1 on for Luzinski, who's 0 for 1. Pitch from Moore, and there's a pop-up left side. Castillo goes into foul territory, and it'll drop foul. So it's a full count. Moore has worked it full, 3-2. Here's the payoff pitch, and there's a base hit into right center field. Kemp will hold. Nope. Yep. You're not going to run on Cowens either. Gray should have had it. And so the White Sox have runners on first and second. 1 out for Pachorik. Wimpy's 0 for 1. 1-1, bottom of third. Pitch for Moore, and Pachorik slaps that one to Ramos. That might be 2. To Cruz for 1. Over to Gray, and I believe they're going to get him. Call it 2. Double play. And so Seattle gets the pitcher's best friend. No runs, 2 hits, and no errors. We've played 3, and Seattle 1, Chicago 1. It'll be Bochy, Cowens, and Zisk for the Mariners here in the 4th. Bruce is 0 for 1. And Lamp delivers, and there's a fly ball to center, and Law makes the catch. This park played big. And there's a reason why Harold Baines was the leading home run hitter, like 170 in a home, until they moved next door to the Yankee Stadium clone. And this park played with the wind, and it was huge. The new park is smaller, and it's much more homer friendly. Al Cowan singled and scored his first time up, the lone Mariner run. Here's the pitch, and Cowens pops that one up left side. Allman and Law talk about it, and Law convinces him to make the catch. So 2 quick out. Lamp cruising right along here. Here's Richie Zisk. Singled his first time up. Pitch from Lamp, and there's a sharp grounder down the Law over to Pachorik, and that will retire the side. So no runs, no hits, no errors. 3.5 in the books here from Comiskey. Seattle 1, Chicago 1. It'll be Harold Baines, Carlton Fisk, and Vance Law. I'm sorry, Rudy Law. Here in the fourth. Baines 0 for 1. Oh, watching Rent. Cool. No, that's Seattle, Seth. It's what, Guaranteed Life Field? It's right next door to Comiskey, the old one. Oh, on Showtime. There you go. So Baines is 0 for 1. Pitch from Moore. Struck him out. 1-2 pitch in at the knees. He didn't want a fastball, and that's what he got. And that's the second strikeout from Moore. Here's Pudge Fisk. He's 1 for 1. And this time, Fisk gets hit by the pitch. He glares out at Moore. He exchanges words with Sweet. The pitch just hit him in the helmet. And Moore said, I didn't really mean anything by that. Fisk says, okay. That brings up Vance Law, who's 0 for 1. Hit and run is on. There goes Fisk. Cruz picks it up. Only play is to first, and they get Vance Law. So Fisk will take second. 2 out for Bill Allman, who walked his first time up. So the White Sox have the time or the go-ahead run on second. 2 out, bottom of the fourth. That's right. Yeah, plunk those batters. Clinton Parks knows about that. And so I didn't know that he did answer. Ooh, that'd be kind of cool. Wheels. Good luck, Clinton, as you look for your next shot. We're pulling for you, buddy. Pitch from Moore. Allman strikes out. He looked at a 2-2 pitch on the inside corner, and that'll do. Nothing across here for the White Sox after 4. It's Seattle 1, Chicago 1. And I wonder if Chrissy or Martino won that day on that Saturday earlier. Well, good luck. So here's Gary Gray. He's 0 for 1. Lamp looking good through 4. Only has allowed 2 hits. And there's a ground ball to Vance Law over to Pachorik, and that's an out. So tonight we will have Sports Time Machine, Mike Bowes, as the guest on the Ron Tuckett Show. And then tomorrow we will do the Patriots Challenge. The 78 Steelers take on the 2007 Patriots from Nickerson Field in beautiful downtown Boston. Rick Sweet's 0 for 1. As an RBI, he reached on a fielder's choice in the 7th. Lamp delivers, and there's a ground ball to Law. Long throw to Pachorik for the out. So Lamp is chugging right along here. And that'll bring up Dave Henderson, the lone strikeout victim of the game. How far, if you do get that, is Celtic Manor or Celtic Manor from Cardiff? That's where they had the Ryder Cup 2 years ago. Pitch to Henderson. Fly ball to left. Kemp has it for the out. No runs, no hits, no errors. We're halfway home here in Chicago. It's Seattle 1, Chicago 1. It'll be the top of the order for the Chi Sox. Rudy Law, Tony Bernazard, and Steve Kemp. So through 18 batters, Mike Moore has thrown 69 pitches, 4 innings, 5 hits. 1 run it was earned. He's walked 1 and struck out 3. Rudy Law is the one that scored that run. He doubled to start the game. He's 1 for 2. That's right. Law swings, and it's a ground ball to Ramos over to Gray, and that's on the bottom of the 5th starts with an out. So both pitchers are pitching well, certainly above their pay grade. You see Moore's real-life ERA is 5.36. Great for cricket. between Clinton Parks and Vincent the last time he was over in the UK. Tony Bernazard. Sack fly in the first. Ground out in the third. Here's the pitch. Ball 4. So the go-ahead run is on for Steve Kemp, who has singled twice, has 2 of the 5 hits the White Sox have. And Sweet goes out to talk with Moore. Pitch to Kemp. And there's a chopper that's going to get through on the left side. Bernazard will hold at second to give Greg Luzinski a bigger power target here. The Bull is 1 for 2. He's got himself a single. I need to find... Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Cardiff is in the Premier League, and Liverpool, I guess, is an awesome city. So hopefully Clinton gets it. Luzinski strikes out. Luzinski didn't get that one. He swung on it, and he looked at a 1-2 curveball just below the belt. He stood there like a barn on the side of the road. And they'll bring up Tom Paciorek. Tom is 0 for 2, including grounding to do a double play. 2 on, 2 out. Bottom of the 5th. 1-1. Seattle and Chicago. Pitch to Wimpy. Got him! And Moore got a strike 3 called on a 1-2 pitch. He got into trouble and he pitched himself out. No runs, 1 hit, no errors. After 5, it's Seattle 1, Chicago 1. So Ramos, Cruz, and Castillo for the Mariners here in the 6th. Ramos, Domingo is 0 for 1. Lamps pitch. Right back to Dennis, over to Paciorek, and that's an out. So through 62 pitches, Lamp has faced 18 batters over 5 1/3 innings. 2 hits and a strikeout. Brings up Julio Cruz. And again, the White Sox will play for the bunt. Cruz is 0 for 2. And he chops out one down to Law at third, over to Paciorek. For the out. 2 quick out. Lamp is cruising right along. He has lit the path for the White Sox to follow. Here's Castillo. He's 0 for 2. Manny hit 257 on the real year. And this time he slaps one in past Allman for a base hit. So Allman should have knocked it down, and the Mariners have their 3rd hit. A run on 3 hits for Seattle, no errors. They've left 1 runner on so far. Chicago, a run on 6 hits and no errors, and they have stranded 7. Bruce Bochy's 0 for 2. Pitch from Lamp. Chopper down to Bernazard. Quick throw to Paciorek, and the White Sox are through the 6th. No runs, 1 hit, no errors. 5.5 in the books. Got ourselves a pitcher's duel here. Seattle 1, Chicago 1. It'll be Baines, Fisk, and Vance Law here in the bottom of the inning. Dennis Lamp pitched for the Red Sox, too. That's right. Pitched for the Cubs, pitched for the White Sox, pitched for the Red Sox, among others. Yep, he's been a light in the dark for the Sox. How you doing, Kenny Castro? Baines is 0 for 2 with the strikeout. And he hits this one in the left center for a base hit. Henderson picks it up on a hop. Baines is going for 2. The throw, not in time. And so Baines gambles and takes second. And the White Sox have the go-ahead run in scoring position to start the 6th. Here's Pudge Fisk. He's 1 for 1. Was hit by a pitch his last time up. More at 94 pitches. Probably his last inning. And that gets away from Sweet. But not enough for Baines to go, and so it will not count as a wild pitch. 1-2. Here's the pitch. There's a base hit up the middle. Baines will round third and hold. You're not going to run on Henderson, and that'll do it for Moore. They let Jim Palmer crap all over the vine last night, but Mike Moore is done in a 1-1 game. Mike Stanton coming in. We got a pitching change. This game is coming to you from Comiskey Park in Chicago. So let's tell you about Mike Stanton. He is 4-1 on the year with a save and an ERA of 3.80. This is appearance 29 for him, and his first in July. He's quite familiar with the White Sox. He pitched against them twice last weekend up in Seattle. Last time out was the 27th, which would have been, I believe, last Sunday. Went a clean inning, so 45 innings, 41 hits, 21 runs, 19 earned, 4 homers, 16 walks, and 29 strikeouts. So he's got a bit of a pickle here in the 6th. Runners on the corner for Vance Law, who's 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Let's see. Wow. Ken Castro was playing a game in the 22nd inning of a 2-2 tie between the 64 Yanks and the 60 Pirates. That's a long, long game. Pitch to Law is a ground ball, base hit left side. Baines will score. Fisk will hold at second. Ramos should have made the play, and the White Sox go up 2-1. It's Billy Allman. Bill is 0 for 1. He has walked and struck out. And Chicago doing some business here in the 6th. Stanton delivers, and Allman sends this one into left. Bochy will have it for the out. Fisk will hold. 2 out, 2-1 White Sox. And that brings up Rudy Law. Mike Stanton, by the way, can throw up to 70 pitches. Or throw up 70 pitches. That's depending on your point of view. Rudy doubled to start the game, scored the first run, and stole the bag. And it gets away from Sweet, and this time Fisk will take third. So another pass ball. And so now it's second and third. On a 2-2 count to Law. Stanton. Ground ball to short. Ramos will take the sure out at first. Fisk was off on contact, and it's 3-1 Chicago, 2 out. So, and that gets away. How about that? Oh, no, I take that back. So Vance Law will hold at second. I got my Law screwed up. So they get the out at first. It goes 6-3 on the card, and Vance Law does not advance. So Tony Bernazard, that doesn't make any sense. Bernazard is walked, driven in a run, and he's 0 for 1. Pitch to Tony, struck him out. 0-2 pitch was a late called strike 3, and Bernazard turns around and shakes his head to Ronnie Millsap, but Ronnie pays no attention. 2 runs, 3 hits, no errors. Chicago, after 6, is up 3-1. Wow. Curfew is supposed to be about 1:30 local. Remember, for years, the American League had a curfew. No, there's no curfew today. But the American League had a curfew of 1 a.m. for years. At least through the early 80s. You couldn't start an inning after 1. You could finish it, of course. But if it was 1:01 a.m. and you were to start an inning, that's local time. Obviously not Eastern. You couldn't go any further. It was suspended. And Kenny Castro says, well, my wife tried to put a curfew on me, it didn't work. Al Collins is 1 for 2. This can grade a follow here in the 7th. Pitch from Lamp, and there's a chopper down to Vance Law. Makes a fantastic play. Bang banger to Pachorik is in time. So Law robs a hit. And that's 1 out for Richie Zisk. 1 for 2 with a single. Ken needs a shot caller. Lamp delivers, and Ziska hits a ground ball down to Vance Law over to Pachorik again, 2 out. And so Lamp cruising right along. Gary Gray is 0 for 2. 3-1 White Sox, 2 outs, top of 7. Lamp delivers, and there's a fly ball to right. Baines is there, and to retire the side. Time to stretch it on the south side. Nothing to cross for the Mariners. Chicago 3, Seattle 1. So Steve Kemp, Greg Luzinski, and Tom Paciorek here in the bottom of the 7th. Kemp is 3 for 3. He has singled all 3 times. Stanton delivers right back to Mike, over to Gray, and there's 1 out. So that brings up Greg Luzinski. He has singled and struck out, and somewhere in there he flew out to right center. 1 for 3. Stanton, hitting in the 3rd, has struck out 1 and allowed a hit. Ground ball to Ramos, long throw to Gray, and Luzinski just doesn't possess that kind of speed anymore, if he ever did. 2 out for Paciorek. Tom 0 for 3, and struck out and grounded into a double play. I didn't realize that there was a limit to how many innings you could have in a game in ball score. Pitch to Tom, struck him out. He got a fastball, strike 3, and that'll do it. Nothing across for the White Sox here in the 7th. We go to the top of the 8th, and still Chicago 3, Seattle 1. So it's Rip Toot Sweet, Henderson, and Ramos. We'll see what they do is Sweet. He's 0 for 2 with an RBI. He will stay in the game, and there's a ground ball to Allman on the grass behind the bag, over to Paciorek for the out. 6-3. No, Paciorek has to get away. He leapt but could not get it, and Sweet is on second with the error. So Allman had a tough play because it went from that dirt infield and took a hop on that grass, and I think it just threw Allman off and up in the throw that it goes in the stands. Is that Keith Olbermann's mother? What is she doing here? So runner on for Dave Henderson. First error of the game. Hendu is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Lamp's pitch, and there's a pop-up right side. Bernazard into foul territory, makes the catch for the out. Tony must have ran 30 yards for that. So 1 out for Ramos, and now let's see what they do with him. He's the one I think they would pinch hit for. Nope, he's going to bat. And a hard grounder to Paciorek. He takes it himself to first, and there's 2 out. Sweet moves on to 3rd. And through 27 batters, Dennis Lamp has thrown himself a whale of a game. 3 hits, 93 pitches. The run it was earned, and 1 strikeout. Just pitch to contact, and good things happen. Julio Cruz, by the way, is 0 for 3. Yeah, Olbermann's mom, I don't know what she was doing there. Here's the pitch. Ground ball to Bernazard, over to Paciorek, and the White Sox work around the air. No runs, no hits, and 1 error. Ed Vandenberg, throw yourself a fish stick, is coming in to pitch. After 7.5, it's Chicago 3, Seattle 1. And Vandenberg posing in one of those god-awful mesh hats. I'm sure for a baseball card or someone's promotional picture. It's 2 and 3 on the year with the save. An ERA of 1.05. This is relief appearance number 28 for him. Pitched an inning 2 nights ago against the Blue Jays, so that would be Thursday. On Canada Day, how about that? Went an inning, allowed a hit, walked 2, and struck out 2. So in 25 2/3 innings, 19 hits, 4 runs, 2 homers, by the way. 3 earned, he's walked 7 and struck out 24. In that game against the Blue Jays, he earned his 2nd win. It'll be Baines, Fisk, and Vance Law here in the bottom of the 8th. Lefty versus lefty, but Baines hits lefties better than righties. He's 1 for 3. And there's a grounder to 3rd. Castillo over to Gray for the out. So no changes in the Seattle defense as we work at the bottom of the 8th inning. Here's Carlton Fisk. He has singled twice, was hit by a pitch and scored. 2 for 2. Yep, you got it. You got it. Vanderkamp fish sticks. Or tasty fish fillets. Pitch to Fisk is a big line drive to center. Henderson's there. Makes the catch 2 out. So Vance Law is 1 for 3. He has an RBI and a strikeout. Wind whip it now. We always did at Comiskey during the day games. 15 miles an hour now, 80 degrees. Especially when they were shown a lot in the early 80s when they were good. And that wind would whip around, blowing the hot dog wrappers and foul balls back into play and all that happy horse stuff. Pitch to Vance Law is a ground ball up the middle. Ramos has it over to Gray. And that will retire the side. We go to the top of the 9th. Dennis Lamp is going to try to not be a girly man. He's going for the CG. It's Chicago 3, Seattle 1. So it'll be Manny Castillo, Bruce Bochy, and Al Cowens. Let's see what they do with Castillo, even though he is their everyday third baseman. 1 for 3 with a single. Lamp at 95 pitches, he should be able to do this. He's only allowed 3 hits, but it's a 2-run game, so Tony La Russa says you're going to get a base runner, buddy boy. Anybody gets on, you go take your applause and take your win. We'll finish it for you. And that will be right now as Castillo slaps one into center field for a single. And Lamp will get his due diligence. Salome Barojas comes in for the save. Hasn't pitched in the month of July. He's on 3 days rest. Pitching change coming from Comiskey Park in Chicago. So Salome Barojas, this will be 28th relief appearance, his 28th. 8-4 on the year, 10 saves, an ERA of 2.09. 43 innings. He took the losses last time out. He pitched 3 nights in a row. He pitched 2 innings in Seattle on the 27th for a save, and then 2 innings at the Metrodome to get another save against the Twins, and then the 3rd night in a row, he was Christmas tree, 3 earned runs without retiring anybody, and a walk. So 43 innings for Barojas, 33 hits, 5 home runs allowed, 13 total runs, 10 earned. He has walked 16 and struck out 24. So the tying run is Bochy. He is 0 for 3. Nobody out, top of 9. 3-1 Chicago. And Bochy hits this one into right field for a base hit. So the tying run is now on base for the Mariners. For Al Cowens, who is 1 for 3. He has singled and scored. Barojas is pitching. That's a ground ball to Bernazar. Might be 2. Allman for 1. They got to hurry. Cowens beats it out. And so he is a tying run. Excuse me. 1 out for Zisk, who was 1 for 3. Castillo on 3rd. Cowens on 1st. 1 out. Barojas trying to lock down save number 11 and a big win for the White Sox. Game 75 for them. They would be 43-32. Here's the pitch, and Zisk hits this one into left. Kemp has it for the out. Castillo will tag, and they're just going to throw it in. Castillo's run doesn't mean much of anything, especially with 2 out. That run gets charged to Lamp. Gary Gray is 0 for 3. Let's see what Seattle does here. They'll bat him. Here's the pitch. Ground ball to Bernazard. Everybody up over to Pachorik. And the White Sox win the game. They hang on to win this one 3-2. And so Dennis Lamp lights it for the 3rd time in his favor. And Barojas lands his 11th save of the year. Mike Moore A tough loss. He only gave up 2 runs in 5 innings. Seattle falls to 40-38. 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Mariners. 3 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for Chicago. And I would venture to guess that Dennis Lamp, who pitched into the 9th, will be your Miller Lite player of the game. And yes, he is. So there you have it. Let's play the rest of Saturday out for you as you look at me. St. Louis beat the Cubs 5-1. Joaquin Indahar goes to 8-7. Texas beat Oakland 6-5. The Rangers are now 23-48. Rick Honeycutt goes to 4-7. Cleveland beat the Yankees 6-5. How about that? Oscar Gamble went 5 for 5 with 2 RBI. Pittsburgh beat Montreal. Manny Sarmiento goes to 7-2. Mike Easler with his 8th home run of the year for the Pirates. Atlanta down Cincinnati 5-2. Steve Petrosian goes to 5-4. Baltimore has tied the American League East back again. They beat the Tigers 6-3. Storm Davis out of the pen goes to 2-1. Al Bunbury with a home run. Toronto shut out Minnesota 6-0. Jim Clancy goes to 11-8. Jesse Barfield with his 12th of the year. Kansas City beat California 6-5. So the lead now is 2.5 games. Armstrong with the win. Don Baylor, a 17th homer. In the game that probably would have taken an hour and a half to play if we had played it out, Milwaukee 10, Boston 9 in 16 innings. Moose Haas gets the win. He goes to 7-7. John Tudor goes to 4-9. Robin Yount with his 15th of the year. San Francisco down San Diego 6-4-10. And finally, Houston beat Los Angeles 2-1. Fernando takes the loss. So the Braves now trail the Dodgers by 7. Philadelphia trails Montreal by 7. Chicago's won 2.5 of California. And Baltimore and Detroit are tied. So baseball next week on this channel. Tuesday, we will play a doubleheader, but 2 different teams for the holiday. So at noon, both games will be one after the other at noon. It'll be the Orioles and the Tigers from the 4th of July at noon, and immediately following, California and Kansas City. So that's the doubleheader on Tuesday. Holiday doubleheader for you on Retro Sports Network. The primetime game is going to be what we think a preview of the National League Championship Series. Los Angeles and Montreal. I believe that game is from the Big O. And then the Thursday game is going to be Kansas City and Milwaukee from that Friday night. So 4 games mushed into 3 broadcasts for you next week for Week 14 of the baseball season. We are just about halfway home here in 1982. Football tomorrow at lunchtime, the 78 Steelers and the 07 Patriots. And Mr. Mike Bose, Sports Time Machine, joins me tonight at 8 for the Ron Juckett Show. Until then, I am Ron Juckett for Retro Sports Network. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Thanks to Clinton and Bobby and Robbie and Dave Gardner and Kenny Castro. Well, you know who you are. We'll see you tonight to talk with Sports Time Machine. Thanks a bunch. We'll talk to you soon.